Good morning, everyone. Thank you for flying from everywhere to be here in Bangkok to join us in IFS Expo 2024. My name is Tung Nguyen, and today I will be the moderator for the first panel discussion, Embedded Finance, the cross-sector united tone. There's so many cases of embedded finance, and it's very broad topic right now. We can see embedded finance is cross-border e-commerce. For example, when you be here in Bangkok buying something in Amazon, and you process to check out to process payment in the platform directly, do not be redirect to another payment page or seamlessly. That's the embedded finance. And we have here the incredible expert with us today. It's bringing a unique perspective on this fast evolving space. I would like to give some time for our speaker to introduce himself. Maybe we can start with the only flower in the stage right now. Lihi, can you introduce yourself?
Thank you. My name is Lihi Notea. I am first and foremost a proud mother of three beautiful girls. I am located in Sofia, Bulgaria. I am with Nuvei for over 6.5 years. I am director of client relationship management. That's it.
Kailash, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Tung and IFX for having me here. It's really an honor to be here and interact with all of you. My name is Kailash. I lead the global commercial organization at Primer. So Primer is a unified payment infrastructure that allows businesses to accept, optimize, and manage their payment stack in the most efficient manner possible. Been with the company a little over 3 years, joined very early pre-revenue, and proud to say that we're processing in the billions of dollars today. So it's really been in the build phase. I spent some time earlier at Stripe selling a lot of embedded products. So looking forward to this session. Thanks for having me again.
Patrick, can we know something about you?
Of course. Good morning. My name is Patrick. I'm an Australian by birth, but have been living in Hong Kong for almost 10 years. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Atlantic Partners Asia, or APA. We're a reasonably new entity. I've been operating for just over 5 years, but have been scaling very quickly with licenses around the world, operate primarily in complex currencies.
Thank you so much. It's very great that we have very wonderful board today in the stage. Lily, Kailash, and Patrick, both from the payment industry. So I would like to listen to each of you guys' opinion about how you see the integration of financial service reshaping different non-finance sectors such as e-commerce or software service or even trading platform. Maybe we will start first with Lihi.
Thank you very much. So for me, embedded finance, it's a unique combination between finance meeting technology and enhancement and making the customer experience simple and easy. When it comes to the combination of the platform between finance and the technical side, in Nuvei, under our one stop shop, we are offering card issuing, banking service, connectivity to banks, alternative payment methods, global acquiring capability around the globe. For me, embedded finance, when we are speaking about the Asia market, I see a huge trend in buy now, pay later platforms such Afterpay that making it very easy to provide a credit solution. Also, mega apps such as Grab, WeChat, Alipay that are basically making a combination between financing, payment, health, everything combined in one platform, making it very easy, very efficient for the end user to centralize all their payment aspect in one click button.
Thank you for sharing, Lihi. As the representative from the payment infrastructure provider, can I have your opinion about this, Kailash?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I agree with a lot of the points Lihi mentioned. I think at the end of the day, we're all here because we're optimizing for the end customer, right? End customers' demands have been changing over the years, more so in Asia Pacific, which is a very fragmented market. In markets like the US, you can have cards or Apple Pay and PayPal, and you can get by capturing 95% of the market. But Asia Pacific, every country is so different. Every country is so fragmented with their own payment preferences, which means if you are a business who needs to be successful in catering to these audiences, you need to have the right level of infrastructure at the point of payment. Customers are savvy. The young demographic in Southeast Asia is at its peak, which means mobile penetration is high, which also means tolerance to friction is low, right? So you need to have the right tools at the point of checkout to ensure that they go ahead and make the purchase. This could be true for B2C platforms, it could be for B2B2C platforms. So I think embedded finance is a natural extension of any business who wants to be able to cater to these audiences. And as Lihi mentioned, I think embedded finance could include buy now, pay later. It could also include connecting to local banking tools. It could be e-wallets. In Thailand, you have PromptPay, which is very popular now, probably even more popular than card payments. And the other inherent benefit of this is it helps to an extent solve the issue that a large part of the population is underbanked. Indonesia, for example, the credit card penetration is 10 or 12%. A lot of people don't have bank accounts, but by having wallets where you can use cash as a method of top up, a lot more people are getting into the formal economy, which is allowing them to transact not only on local websites, but even global websites and gain that level of exposure. So, yeah, in summary, I think embedded finance is everywhere to be seen. I was just reading some stats which said next year, it's going to be a $600 billion market, of which half of it is expected to come from APAC, probably because of all of these underlying demographic reasons that we see in the market.
Patrick, can I have your view about this situation?
Yeah, I think just building on the other points, embedded finance is really important because for small business, it allows them an avenue to disintermediate other companies and to be able to enter markets, compete against bigger players where they would traditionally have to have a large capital investment and technology footprint. So that disappears. I think that's really important. And a key value, we've spoken about the consumer, but to generate profitability and revenue in countries, we need to be able to make sure that small, medium business is able to have that competitive playing ground flattened slightly. At the same time, though, embedded finance for large corporates gives them access to new revenue streams that they wouldn't traditionally be able to access. It draws on the data pools that they already have about their customers, and if they're able to use that intelligently, how can they go through and sell more effectively and capture more of the engagement with clients? I think we're starting to see the end of, data is the new oil, right? Because as generative AI and AI has started to come through, we're getting much smarter views as to what those consumers are and how we're going to be able to predict it. And I'd start to say that that's going to be part of the next iteration of embedded finance going forward.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Based on the sharing, we can see that very clear that the APAC market has the unique dynamic when it's come to embed finance, where the financial service is not only to cover people basic needs, but also to enhance the experience of the customer for process the payment rather than finding gaps. So we can very easily to see that some influence of super apps like WeChat or Draft really driving the shift, especially why in the situation that traditional service financial service system do not meet all the needs. So people have to turn to the alternative system or solution. So the question here is why we are not speeding up more. What are the primary hurdles you currently see in the iPad market? For the question, I want to ask about Kailash first, as you are the one who very familiar with the iPad market.
Yeah, I think all the opportunities I mentioned earlier also presents its own challenges, right? Being a fragmented market presents a lot of opportunities, but from a business perspective, it presents a lot of challenges in the sense that how can I have a unified infrastructure that can cater to all of these requirements without me drowning in technical debt, without me having a lot of complexity in my tech stack, which takes me away from my core business objectives. I think that's a huge consideration, which is why you need platforms which can help these businesses provide that level of abstraction, but not at the cost of granularity. Right? I think that is extremely important, and we're seeing more and more solutions coming to the market that help businesses do that today. Uh, the other challenge is could be debatable, but I'd say there's a little bit of structural resistance as well. Embedded finance, in some aspects, competes with traditional finance, right? Because embedded finance, if you go deeper, as Patrick mentioned, it unlocks new streams of revenue. This could be revenue from, let's say, capital, revenue from issuing cards, revenue from treasury services, and these ones are competing against traditional finance. So there could be some structural resistance there. I think so. Finding the right balance between having the right infrastructure that can allow you to tap into these potential areas, but also having the right regulatory setup to ensure that you're doing things in a compliant manner, and leveraging service providers to do this, I think is the answer to fast speed to market.
Thank you, Kailash. I would love to hear Lihi insight about this regard because I know that Nuvei is a very strong player in the digital man about cryptocurrency and digital assets. So, how is it about your insight?
Okay. So for me, whenever a merchant wants to target new markets, if in the past it was enough to have just credit cards, we know that now with all the extra personalization, it's very important to identify in each market what are the most popular methods and to give it to the merchant to have like a method that the merchant knows and feel comfortable. And if I can relate to the risk aspect, it's more about how we mitigate the risk, whether it's chargeback and fraud, and how are we taking the approach when it comes to our optimization of success rate. So it's all about how to optimize the performance and giving the end user the experience that they strive for.
Thank you, Lihi. So, how about your opinion, Patrick, especially in technology field?
In terms of the barriers for adoption.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think we actually leapfrogged over the objections. I think 5 years ago there were a lot of concerns: would people trust these new platforms? But because they've become so embedded, you could argue that COVID has played a role in that. There's really no discourse now about whether we should trust our e-commerce provider. I think that's very different to when e-commerce one, with the Amazons of the world came around. So remarkably, we've been able to jump over that. I think the challenge is more around as some of these super apps become more and more walled gardens. How do, as a supplier, you make sure that you're not doubly hit about playing in that garden? I think that's going to be quite important. And then obviously the other topic that we haven't covered so far is the regulatory concerns, the information about individuals, who and where that information is stored, who has access, who has permission to have that information removed. These become much more difficult to navigate for organisations, particularly across Southeast Asia or Asia Pacific more broadly.
Okay, thank you. As Patrick and Kailash just mentioned about the complicated of integration is one of the biggest challenges for the payment platform provider. But when we think about it, this challenge tend to all have with finance solution. Well, maybe we shall deeper into that. How do your company leverage technology like API and software service to create better user experience? And what future advancement can we expect in this area? Patrick, as the head of technology of APA, can you share about a few more?
Yeah, we're very much an API-driven organisation, and I think it would be foolish not to be taking that approach. You were talking about technical debt before. The rate, speed, and diversity of offerings available in Asia Pacific are so diverse that any organisation looking to do that by themselves, I think, is going to come very quickly into headwinds. So APIs play certainly a role. We take a bit of a balanced role as to where PaaS, SaaS, and on-premises sit. I think generally regulators have become more relaxed about what can be in the cloud and what needs to be stored locally, and that will continue to progress. I would say a lot of the more traditional financial institutions are still very much caught up in an on-premises space. They're still very much concerned about what they need to expose and present to regulators. So that's important. But being much more dynamic, we have that ability. It means that we can keep vendors on their toes. Means that we can scale quickly. Our three strategic objectives for this year as a firm, I don't think people mind me sharing, was growth, growth, and growth. And you can only do that with APIs.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Kailash, your position in Primer is the infrastructure provider. So how do you think about this field?
Yeah, completely agree with Patrick. I think it's stupidity not to be thinking about APIs in this day and age. That is the way to scale, not just for us as a provider of services, but even as a business who provides certain services to their clients. Uh, I think we've spoken about B2C quite a bit. I'd like to dive deeper into the B2B space and more SaaS space, right? So people providing SaaS solutions to their clients. I think that's where, in my view, embedded finance brings a lot of value and unlocks new streams of revenue for these businesses. I think the beauty of SaaS is it's sticky. You have APIs which can help you make it stickier, and it has a lot of potential to drive exponential product-led growth, right? Because onboarding is easier and all of that. So the more products you're able to add to your stack, the more deeply embedded you become in your customer's lifecycle. And how do you do that? Having access to world-class APIs, which is easy to consume by businesses. Let me give you an example. Let's take a CRM platform like a Zoho or a Freshworks or even an accounting tool like Xero. No one would think that they would have payments as part of their offering because their core business is offering CRM or accounting software, but they offer payments as a value add to their businesses. And guess what? These are multi-billion-dollar businesses for Zoho and Xero because they're capturing more of their customer lifecycle, and that gives them additional data. With data, you can bring in AI, run your machine learning models, and just become so sticky from a business standpoint. And that's what is driving ARR, valuations, all of that. So I think in summary, I think APIs is the way to go. How do you make that easily accessible, easily consumable by the businesses that you work with? That is key. And again, I think having the right access to the providers who can give you this, who can advise, and that's something we've been doing at Primo. We did it at Stripe as well.
Okay, thank you, Kailash. Okay, now we talk about API and software service and technology infrastructure. Also, in general, it's also important to consider the partnerships and collaborations that make all possible. I truly want to hear your thought on how the business approach strategic partnership and what type of collaboration are you focusing on to expand your reach and capabilities. Lihi, can you share about this one?
Yes, of course. So, right as you mentioned, that there is no one solution that fits all. It's all about customization. It's all about making it easy. We consider ourselves global expansion partners, meaning that it's just not just about having the technical capabilities side to make it easy to align as per merchant needs. It is also understanding the scope of their activity, where we can provide domestic acquiring capability versus cross-border to make the impact. And again, when we are talking about success rate, having that customization of domestic acquiring across the globe give us added value when it comes to improving the performance of our merchants.
Thank you, Lihi. Patrick, how is about your opinion about this thing?
Sorry, could you? Okay.
The question is how the business approach strategic partnership and what type of collaboration that we can focusing on to expand the reach and capability.
Yeah, so within APA, I think I'll talk to that rather than embedded finance. So a couple of things we do. One, we've started running essentially Dragon's Den or Innovation Hub sessions, mini accelerator sessions with some of our preferred partners. It gives them an opportunity to challenge us in terms of how we run our business, what our operating model should look like, and gives them an avenue to start to talk about new functionality or capabilities. We look to use that for strategic insights in terms of what others are doing without divulging, really sensitive information. But as we continue to grow into new markets, we start to talk to them about where are we looking to open up new licenses, what are the regulatory considerations we might need to take, how else can we tap into KYC and other back-end systems that we might need to be able to access. Strategic partnerships, though, is also not just about listening to them, but also pushing back. So we've got mini roadmaps with 3 of our suppliers now, really challenging, and how do we prioritize what is important to us compared to what is important for them. We invest in being a sort of an early field site in some instances for some of those technologies, which I think is important. And it's also, I've been in IT now for sadly over 30 years. And one of the things I find is that every vendor always says, we've just got a single pane of glass that we just, you'll be able to see all of your answer. And the reality very often is that I finish up with 15 single panes of glass. So, going back to that point around APIs and data orchestration, how can I bring a presentation, a variety of disparate presentation layers with often a disparate set of data sets together to actually run a business? Because there's a lot of friction that gets introduced if I'm having, as a person in compliance or person in payments or whatever, having to go through different tools. So that's the part of that strategic partnership discussion is how to get others to play well together as well as playing well with me.
Okay. Kailash, how do you think about this thing?
Yeah, I love your example on the panes of glass and the 15 panes of glass. So we are in the business of
Single pane of glass, right?
not a single pane of glass, but unifying the 15 panes of glass for a business, right? So we are a two-sided marketplace. We enable businesses to get access to the right partners and get access to the right partners through a single integration, right? So our partners could be payment providers. So we partner with Nuvei. It could be KYC tools. It could be communication tools. It could be CRM tools. So think of anything payments and payments adjacent. We partnered with these folks with the intention of providing the businesses that we work with that single pane of glass. And I think what's important to call out, it's not just about providing the technology or providing the APIs that allow them to connect your technology. A lot of the process of enabling them goes back to how consultative you are. How can you advise them on what is the right setup in what country? Because one APAC is fragmented, but two APAC is also a heavy cross-border market, right? You tend to see businesses headquartered in a Singapore or a Hong Kong selling to Europe, selling to US. They struggle with entity creation. They struggle with taxation. They struggle with how do you repatriate funds back into their home currency. So I think aside from providing right technologies, I think giving them advisory and consultancy on who are the partners on that side of the business, which can help them with things that are often also ran but are strategic. I think that's extremely important, and that's driven by giving them the right level of partnerships and collaboration through partnering with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kailash. Based on the sharing of the panelists, we can see that MPS Finance right now creates the very seamless payment experience for the customer, but the similar is going to the potential risk. So I want to ask you all about how to ensuring for the compliance and risk management to reduce the chargeback or something like fraudulent something. Lihi, can you share about this thing?
Sure. So we have nowadays many tools to mitigate chargebacks and risk, and it's all about finding a good balance between protection but not overkill. And this balance is achieved, in my opinion, by having a very proactive approach, reviewing the performance, making the adjustment if needed, and be on top and be able to mitigate when for example, adding chargeback suits such as the RDR, ETOCA, MasterCard collaboration, and then also to be open to adjust the limits and to review the risk pool. And again, to be very minded about approval ratio boost.
Thank you. Patrick, I want to know deeper about your opinion about this thing, about risk management and reduce checkback, avoid fraudulent something, especially using the technologies payment right now to do that.
Yeah, so certainly we have three lines of defence, and technology is a really critical part of that. There are a lot of obviously tools that are out there, but it's understanding the risk appetite and making sure that you've got that continuous monitoring in place to be able to go through and calibrate. I think the second line of defence then is around having the right standard operating procedures in place, making sure that procedurally things are going through. We run by a mantra of if it's not quite right, flag it out. We actively encourage all of our staff that if they think that something might be suspicious, whether that's a potential email, phishing email that they, I probably get 5 of those every day from people saying, is this actually something genuine? So, we instill that culture into our operating procedures to make sure that people are attuned to it. I think that's just as important as ticking the boxes and having the technology. If you don't have all three, we're breaking that social contract that we have with our customers and their customers, and we face the risk of increased regulatory impositions where if we don't manage ourselves correctly, regulators will. And I know where I'd prefer to be sitting on that discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for sharing. Now I want to wrap up and talking a little bit more about the future. So what emerging trend or technologies is embedded finance do you think will have the most significant impact on the coming year? And how should business prepare to adopt or adapt for the change? We can start first with Kailash.
Yeah, I think AI is the most obvious keyword at this point in time, right? But I think within AI itself, like how do you leverage machine learning and how do you leverage machine learning to access the data that a lot of the providers have to drive efficiencies in your business, right? Today, I think payments acceptance is almost table stakes for any provider giving you those solutions. It's all about how do you help optimize and how do you help manage what you have in the most effective manner. So I think that's where a lot of focus is going to be for businesses. I almost look at payments today as businesses viewing it as a cost center, right? It's something that needs to be reduced from a cost perspective. But the key challenge that we're all trying to solve is how do we flip that on its head and make it a lever for growth, right? How can it contribute to revenue? How can it drive operational efficiencies? And by the way, reduce cost, because then it's a key part of the P&L which CFOs care about. There's no payments function out there today, right? A payments manager might report to product or might report to a CFO. Payments, in my view, should be a standalone function. There needs to be tool for payment managers to get people from different parts of the business to come together, perform their tasks in a collaborative manner, and add that as a lever for growth. And I think that's going to be how businesses will start viewing payments as they scale, as there's complexity from cross-border markets.
Patrick, how do you think about this thing?
Yeah, I think everyone loves talking about AI, so let's jump onto that bandwagon. Specifically, I think the opportunity in Asia Pacific is, I started working in NLP and speech recognition platforms 25 years ago. So sometimes these things around AI are actually old, but just manifesting themselves faster with larger data sets and more compute. I think the ability for language translation, whether that be through bot or through other communication, will be a key part of service. I started off talking about how do small businesses disintermediate, how do they enter to a new market. So if I was going to enter the Korean market or the Indian market, for example, and I've got a litany of new languages that I need to be able to serve, how do I do that with a business of only a couple of million, right? Well, the answer is, I think, being able to provide that service and predictably serve those requests as they're coming through as well, I think will probably be the biggest part. The second technology will be around identity management and identity protection. I don't think it's a radical prediction to say that over the next 5 years, with what we're seeing out of Europe in particular, but also North America, the individual's rights to their personal identity and that information, again, will become important. And vendors will start to have a look at how does that information get compartmentalized, but still meet the regulatory requirements, for record holding and so forth. Those two things conflict and have to get reconciled one way, and technology will be part of that answer.
Thank you, Patrick. Lihi, I would love to hear your opinion about this one.
Thank you. I think the future will be, again, more and more and making the payment cycle more efficient, seamless, frictionless. And it's all about personalization, real-time data, to have all customized to face and to make the shopping experience much easier and more, let's say, adaptable to end user needs.
Okay. Thank you so much. As we wrap today's discussion, I would like to say thank you to all of you, all the panelists, for sharing such valuable insight on APIS Finance, about its role, about the present, about the difficult, and about the future also. So right now, I want to pay a little bit time for all the participants or guests here to make the question or something to all the panelists here. Just hang your hand, and our team will bring you the microphone. Anybody want to ask something?
There must be a question.
All clear.
Okay, so maybe we will not have any question here because all the information is very clear and very clear to understand. Okay, thank you all of you here, guests and participants, for engagement. I hope today's discussion have provided new view on how embedded finance has united the industry and enabled global growth. Let's continue the conversation with you today as possibility endless in this space. Thank you so much.